I'm Helena Phoenix, and you're listening to The Helena Phoenix Show here on Wolf Spirit Radio. Welcome. You're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show. I'm your host for the next few hours here on Wolf Spirit Radio. And just a quick message that Wolf Spirit Radio is listener supported and run by the great JP, who's in Scotland, which is going to be a great segue to my guest that I've got with me. But is listener supported Wolf Spirit Radio, and you can go to wolfspiritradio.com and check out previous archives. I'm just a newbie here, so if you're familiar with my voice and the work that I've done before on Time to Shine at another syndicate, you'll know who I am. So stay tuned, and I've got a great guest with me. So this was my segue. So JP's in Scotland, and my guest is Scottish. And I've spoken to Julie before. This is Julie Gibson. I've had her on Time to Shine before, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome her back to the show. So, Julie, how are you going?
Hi, Helena. Thank you so much for inviting me back as your guest. I'm really honoured to be here with you tonight.
Wonderful. Well, last time I think we discussed, well, you're an author, and I've got the book right in front of me, the physical version of your book called You Can Live the Life of Your Dreams. So if everybody is familiar with the work I do, it's always about getting pretty deep about what's going on in the world, but finding solutions. And from what I know about Julie is a very upbeat, a very positive lady, and she's just ammunition to have around as a human being. And this book, You Can Live the Life of Your Dreams, is a book she wrote. So we'll talk about a little bit more about that and the work you do, Julie. So tell us a bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm very fortunate in that I've had a background in nursing, and I became a community nurse working with women and children. I'm also a midwife. That's where my background is. But a few years ago, my life underwent a few challenges, and I then went on to study some life coaching to find some answers to my own life challenges, and also to help support other people that I see on a day-to-day basis in my work. So I became a women's wellbeing coach and motivational speaker, and my passion is writing and helping other people to shine. So it's very in alignment with what you do on your show.
And Julie, you work out of Melbourne. Regardless of your beautiful Scottish accent, you're actually close by to me. You're only probably a half an hour, not even 20 minutes away from me. So you work outside of Melbourne. Do you find there's a lot of cultural differences with the issues that you're seeing? Obviously, you've gotten into this line of work because you want to help. And in order to help, you must have seen that there was, the other side. The help is needed. So do you notice there's a lot of cultural differences? Do you notice a difference in Australian culture and the issues that we have here in contrast to where you're originally from?
Yeah, it's interesting. Coming from Scotland, I actually come from Glasgow. I don't know if many of the listeners will be familiar with Glasgow, but it's very dear to my heart. And Glasgow is a very cultural mix. There are quite a lot of working class areas. There's a lot of poverty, a lot of deprivation. And it's interesting then coming to a place like Melbourne, because I would say that the Melbourne and Australian culture are similar, but maybe UK has gone through a lot more social change and potentially deprivation, and I always see that when you come to Australia, I was blown away by how positive people were here, but I actually see a lot of the British culture and poverty now starting to come over to Australia and the Australian way of life. So it's interesting you bring that up, because it's look, that very fortunate in Melbourne to live here because there's such a cultural mix and the diversity here is incredible. So there's different, I would say, similar problems, but also a lot of differences.
Now, what are the? I mean, I consider myself a sociologist, studied psychology at uni, ran a business as a personal trainer, health and nutritionist. I mean, I've done all this stuff, and what really fascinates me is people, what motivates people. It came to my attention a couple of years ago that I was actually quite programmed to be kind of making choices in life that probably weren't good for me, basically. And when I started realizing it was very much part of my faulty programming, I was able to change. Now, do you find with the women that you work with, which we'll talk about the work that you do as well, because it really is about essentially helping people, do you find that your experience with these women and the people that you work with is a lot of almost faulty programming, that they need to reassess everything and almost reprogram themselves? Would you kind of consider it that way?
Yeah, I think when you look at human psychology and the development of who we become in adults, there's a lot of evidence to say that the experiences we have up to the age of 7 shape who we become as an adult. And we almost have to unlearn the negative programming that's been given to us, because when as I said, my background is nursing and midwifery, so I see every day beautiful innocent babies and children being the people they were meant to be and not having any filters on who they are, how they act and how they behave. But very, very quickly life shuts you down. And you're constantly told, no, you can't do this, or shh, be quiet. And so the negative programming we have in life starts from a very, very early age. And the family dynamics, the people that we have around us definitely do shape who we then become. And you're quite right, because we learn a lot of who not to be, which stifles potentially who we were meant to be.
That's such a good point.
And it's all about, to me, the work I do now is actually about finding your true life's purpose and who you were actually meant to be before you were programmed to be someone else and to conform.
You know, I love that. It's almost a new, it's a new way of healing, really. You know, the traditional ways of Western medicine are, you know, if we have issues, emotional issues, family issues, we'll go see a doctor, go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist and counsellor, which is usually very handy at the time when it's needed. But usually those kinds of sessions deal with being in a victim state. So I was a victim of a horrible family, and I'm a little bit destroyed now, so now I'll go get counselling. Now, this new form of healing, and for healing facilitators like yourself and like myself, is really concentrating on just finding solutions to it rather than dwell on it, which is why we pay these doctors and these psychologists. It's a lot of dwelling. That's how they're making their money, essentially. Let's be honest. But what you're doing is, it's like this, you've turned the light on. It's like, let's just turn the light on and just deal with this, and let's just decide what we want to be, who we want to be, and start moving and in accordance to that direction, and start aligning our thoughts in that direction. And it's almost like, look, let's stop wasting time here. And I don't mean that when I talk about victims, there are true victims of abuse, sexual and deep emotional, psychological abuse. That is one thing. okay? But then there's the other side where we're walking around society with this culture of victim consciousness of people that haven't been sexually abused and they haven't had really bad childhoods, but they still feel that the world owes them something. They still feel very much like they're the victim of, because they got dumped, and they stay very victimized. They're not, to me, not true victims, but it's very much part of the victim consciousness. And I think that's part of our programming. But then again, women like you come along and it's like, right, let's just turn the light on and let's see what we can do about it. Are you happy? No. Then what can we do? And there you are.
I think you make a good point. Being a victim, you can have things happen to you in life which you have absolutely no control over. And I do believe that bad things happen to good people. Mm-hmm. And that good things can happen to good people too. And it's how you deal with the experiences that you've been dealt that shape you into the person that you are. Most of the clients I deal with that are potentially stuck in a victim, if we want to call it a victim mentality, for want of a better, phrase. They can't see where their power is. They need to almost take back control of the situation and reclaim their personal power. Mm-hmm. When you have had something happen to you which is a negative thing and it's against your will, then we have a choice of how to then process that. And unfortunately, the way a lot of us have been programmed in early childhood, we don't have the tools that we need in our toolbox to shine the light on that and make it a positive spin. So we deal a lot with helping clients to draw a line in the sand. So instead of going over your childhood and what went wrong, rather than that, we actually want to give people power back in a much faster way, and get them to draw that line and say, yes, this happened to you. Let's make sense of it in a positive light and reframe that.
Mm-hmm. Another good fast track, here's a tip that I tell people if they come to me, and it's like this. A lot of people like you and myself are popping up. And what I mean by that is healing facilitators in this new world and, the new school. And I was trying to figure out the other day why that is. Why are more of us on the healing path and wanting to help others heal? And I realised it's going to be so much easier to forgive our parents. I mentioned this last week, I think. A lot easier to forgive our parents. They didn't have the kind of information and flood of information that we have now. They didn't have the knowledge and the wisdom that we can get even just by a Facebook post, for goodness sakes. You can get a bit of wisdom just by a Facebook post, something that maybe our parents wouldn't have even considered, a paradigm of living. But because we've got so much information now, healing can be quicker. Finding someone to help you heal can be quicker. Making less mistakes as a parent as well because of the amount of information. So I think it's a lot easier to be forgiving towards our parents if they weren't. No one's perfect, and some parents are certainly worse than others. I mean, you hear stories of parents where, the mum would spend all the money on herself, for instance, and the children would come second. And those kinds of things would definitely hurt when you see your mother is fundamentally selfish or narcissistic. And those little things that can cause a victim kind of state in someone. But everything being relative, there are certainly people that have suffered a lot worse abuse. But what I'm finding is just this sort of collective woe is me because I didn't have this when I was a kid. And I think I went through that as well. I certainly felt sorry for myself for all the stuff I didn't have. I've gone through that silly, stupid phase. So someone snapped me out of my programming and it was done within a week. And I'm talking years of programming. I was relieved of it probably within a week because of the work I was doing with these two individuals, actually. So it's powerful. It's it's almost you just go, I've had enough. And I suspect the women that come to you or come to your seminars, Julie, are very ready, which is pertinent, is very important that they, you know, the whole teacher, when you're ready to learn, the teacher will appear kind of thing, and you're that teacher. So how do you find it when women do approach you or come to your seminars? What stage in their life are they at that they come to you?
Often they've had what we like to term as aha moments in their life. I mean, we can all probably identify something that's happened to us in our life that all of a sudden has almost like given us an electric shock, and jolted us to realise that, wait a minute, this is not the life that I signed up for. This is not how I imagined my life would go. So, I mean, I can talk from a personal experience from myself. I wasn't a victim of circumstance. Nothing horrendous happened to me, but I myself had been programmed to expect much more from myself in my life, and I got brought up into that rat race where every day was like as I describe it in our book, you know, Live the Life of Your Dreams, every day became like a hamster wheel. I felt I was trapped and I was stuck and I gave up my power. I felt helpless. I had 3 young children. I had some health issues. I was in a marriage that probably wasn't serving either of our needs. So I bought into that, woe is me, isn't my life terrible? I'd start to look around at other people and look at, oh wow, they've got a really nice house, they've got a pool, they've got their car, they go on 3 holidays abroad every year. You know, I work hard. Why is my life not as good as theirs? You know, they're always talking about how their children are gifted and so super talented. And my children are all gifted and talented, but nobody else externally is seeing that. And so I began to question and look at my life from a negative viewpoint rather than, you know, having my lovely rose-coloured positive spectacles that I have on now, you know. And I started to buy into that negative mentality, you know, that, and it's almost like it's coming from a place of fear and of scarcity rather than coming from a place of, you know what, there is enough for everyone to go around. And when you talked earlier about shining your light on something, it's a very good metaphor. If you go into a barn and you switch the light on, you know, when you first go in, it's pitch black. You find the light switch, you switch the light on, and all of a sudden you can see things that you didn't see before. And that's very much what happens when you've had something happen to you, like an aha moment. My aha moment was...
That was my next question. What was yours? What snapped you out of it?
My aha moment was one night when I actually escaped from my rat race of a life and I actually went late night shopping. I love to shop. I'm, you know, a woman who loves shoes and clothes, but I was a mother of 3 very young children and I didn't get much space and time to think, let alone to spend money on myself. And every piece of money that I earned or all my time I actually spent on my children or on my home or on my family and not on myself. So I'd lost me somewhere along this parenting line and with work. And I was driving home that night. I'd just gone window shopping. I didn't actually buy anything, but I came to what is a stunningly beautiful part of the world, Oliver's Hill. You probably know it because you drive up it. Mm-hmm. But normally I would get to that point and look out at the sea and look over Melbourne and think to myself, wow, how lucky am I to live here? Because the view is breathtaking. But that one night I actually looked down and I thought, what if I just kept driving over that cliff? Would anybody notice? And would anybody even care? And that was only a split second thought, but I got such a shock at even contemplating that because I had a nice house. I had the dream pool. I had 3 beautiful, healthy children. And I had a good man as a husband, but I still felt unfulfilled. And I was really at a very low mental health point in my life, and I couldn't see my way out of it. And that really gave me such a fright, because I thought, wow, even with everything there for me, I consider myself to be extremely fortunate. I've had an education, I've had an amazing upbringing, and my actual family themselves couldn't understand it. They thought I was being really selfish. They couldn't understand my mental status and my depression. And I was just so down on myself, that this was not the life I dreamt I would have when I was younger.
So you were pretty much serving others most of the time. That was the way you were living, just serving others. Would that be a correct assumption?
Absolutely, but like any mother, like any mother, all mothers, I would like, to put it out there, and, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm more than happy to listen to other people's opinions.
But hold on, can I ask you something? You said like all mothers, but now knowing what you know, you're able to balance it more now. It's not just service all the time. You understand that probably being a good mother, great mother, is actually being able to be of service to yourself and putting yourself first at times and having that balance.
Absolutely, Helena. It was something I hadn't clicked with, though. I was very much in the putting everyone else first, but now I really understand that a mother or a woman who serves herself first is actually of much more use to the family, to her children, and the wider community, because women tend to be the cornerstones of most families. They tend to be the ones that book health appointments for people that need them. They tend to be the one that look after the dental health, the shopping, the nutrition that goes into the bodies. And if you're not valuing yourself, and if you're not loving yourself, you're then teaching others how to treat you, which I think is a huge, huge important thing. And it's a light bulb moment that for a lot of women that aren't giving themselves self-love and self-care, and they might, I probably was being a bit of a martyr. I was, I need to do this for my children. I need to blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize that, what? I am equally important in all this.
And it's good for them to see that in their mother as well. It's important that they see their mother their mother's not just a doormat. And like right now I've got my 5-month young daughter sitting in her high chair holding my hand. We've been holding hands the whole time. And she's going to get used to the fact that Mama does radio. But she's joining me on the radio. So I deliberately and consciously want to find a balance where I'm not going to give up everything, but I can't keep doing the things I used to do because I've got a child now. But, talking to people, this is why radio is so great, because sometimes we don't need to make mistakes, because if you're wise, you'll learn from others, from others. Sounds like I said mothers, but yeah, from mothers and others. And my point being that we don't have to make these silly mistakes to kind of, sometimes we do, sometimes we've got to make mistakes to learn, and then sometimes you can learn from other people's experience, which is why I love doing radio, because it's essentially what we get to do here. You might hear something, you might be able to bypass, and it's also what your books are for as well. It helps people get there quicker, or get dodge a problem, dodge a bullet, a potential bullet. It's like becoming smarter. We're becoming wiser and smarter. We're getting it quicker. And I wanted to use a metaphor, because you said earlier about, people see themselves a certain way. It's the way you see yourself, the way others are going to see you. It's just the law of, it's physics. I'll give you an example. If someone comes to your door, they look homeless, their hair's all ratty, they got, ripped clothes on, and they come to your door. The way you probably respond to them would be exactly the way they feel about themselves. If someone came to your door, not necessarily all done up from head to toe with a perfect suit on, because quite frankly, I do not think that that's any representation of someone's character. I personally don't. But if someone they're well dressed, they carry themselves, and they got some spark about them, and you're going to treat them differently to the person with the ripped clothes, etc. Because we kind of mirror each other, and there's a lot of energies that exist regardless of whether we can see them or not. And human beings, we literally give off an energy. You know, televisions work, computers work via frequencies in the air that we cannot see. You try explaining someone, do you know how a mobile phone works, Julie?
You're talking to someone who's got one constantly attached to their hand.
Yeah, I have
the first idea as to how it actually works.
Yeah, exactly. We have no idea how the hell that thing works, but it's frequencies in the air. Could you imagine a human being? A human being's the amount of energy and frequency. You walk into a room and someone's in a bad mood, and unless you're very, very good at turning that situation around with your energy, sometimes I'm able to do it. I can turn it around by using my energy, and sometimes I can't. But our energy is extremely powerful. You know, the way we are around our children, even what they pick up. But speaking about energies, you're kind of working in a field now, which is still dealing with energies. You're wanting to help women kind of see themselves in a better light. So yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Well, when I first started on my journey, when I wrote my first book with my co-authors, it was all about trying to give people a bit of a fast track into all that I had studied and all that I had learned. And from that, I then began to find my true passion and purpose. Because I've always worked as a midwife or with women. I mean, the actual word midwife actually means with women. And so they're very, very close to my heart. And when I was learning all about coaching and how to help other people in a bigger light, I was very, not disheartened, but I could see the pain and the trauma that a lot of my fellow women were going through and how they didn't see themselves as beautiful. And I personally believe that every human being has beauty within them. And my passion then became to help women to see themselves in the best light that they can be and be the best version of themselves that they can be, to learn to love themselves. And in doing that, then they can shine their light. I like to say they can either sparkle, twinkle, or shine, depending on their personality and how wide they want to reach with their impact. But I believe every single individual can make a difference. And if you know yourself and love yourself and have self-worth and self-esteem, then that's the biggest gift you can give to the world, because then you are going to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And if you do have a family or do have children, then they will look up to you, and then they will also strive to be the best version of themselves that they can be. I have a quote that I like to say to all my clients that I see them, because I believe that you can have anything you want in life if you dress for it. And Edith Head, an American costume designer, said that, and I think what you said is very true. People, if someone turns up on your doorstep looking like a tramp or wearing a suit, which one would you choose to be?
Well, I'll be really honest with you, Julie. I wouldn't trust the one in the suit. I'll tell you that now. And anyone who knows me knows that's exactly what I would say. I wouldn't trust the suit.
And it's all programming. It's all programming and learning, isn't it? It's like, it depends on where you've come from and what your experience is. But what I kind of like to say along that is people that have some pride in how they look, may get a second opportunity or a second chance, whereas someone that maybe isn't presenting themselves in the best light, some people may dismiss that, because nowadays what you wear and how you present yourself to the world. And as Michia Prada, the designer, says, she said, what you wear is how you present yourself to the world, especially today when human contacts are so quick. And things like fashion and style are an instant language. We have an instant life now. You get a snapshot of people on social media, on Facebook, and first impressions do count. And the unfortunate thing in life is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So in 1/10 of a second, people will judge you. And that is really important to know, that it's sad, potentially, that people will make a judgment call on who you are and what you are. But it's also, to me, it's about, you know what, give yourself the best chance you can to do the best job that you can do, and to present yourself in the best light that you can have. And people may feel that that's superficial, but unfortunately we're programmed as human beings subconsciously to make decisions on that level. So whether you like it or not, it's actually a fact. So I work a lot now with women on working on the person they see in the mirror, and being able to look at that person in the eye and love themselves for who they are and for the bodies that they are in, not for the bodies they might dream of having.
Which, so, by the way, they could have if you put the work in. It's definitely, it's all possible. As a business owner of a personal training business and a health and nutritionalist, I've seen women's bodies morph, like the metamorphosis from when we started to getting into training 3 months after. I mean, I'm talking about middle-aged women that were in their 50s. If you want to put in the work, that's with anything. It's you will see results. But what I wanted to say about, you definitely make a valid point. You know, we see someone, we make that judgment. I'm definitely, it's probably a little bit wiser to not judge in that direction anymore, just because someone's wearing a suit or carrying a certain handbag. I'm definitely, for me, it's the way, I suppose, does someone have values? Does someone have integrity? That's where I judge. That's actually more so than a physical thing. But the work I would do is working on the inside out, because if you start feeling good about yourself, you're probably going to have a little bit more pride about how you look. And so we don't want to keep it too superficial. It's certainly not just about looking good and wearing the right clothes, because that really is not going to get you far. It'll get you in the door, but it doesn't mean you'll stay there.
Yeah.
So, you know, the nice
it might give you that
yeah.
extra time,
yeah.
Helena. I might buy you that extra time for people to actually get to know you, or to get to know what you're all about. I do agree. It really depends on your modality as well and how you function. I mean, I'm an extremely visual person. Some people are much more auditory. Some people, you know, like their facts and figures. Some people are touchy-feely and are kinesthetic. We all make our decisions in a different modality and have our favoured modalities. But at the end of the day, it's often done on an unconscious level. You don't consciously think through the process of your decision making. But what I mainly work with now is women looking in the mirror, and what happens is, yes, you can dress to be the part, but if your mindset is not in that place, you have to start somewhere. And if you can actually, I know you said that you can have the body that you want.
If you're willing to work for it.
If you're willing to work for it.
It's possible.
But often people who have put on weight potentially have a low self-worth or low self-esteem. So they're not necessarily going to be at that mindset that says, yes, I can do this, let's go. That tends to be a much more motivated, much more self-aware person that says, yes, this is it. So I work a lot with women who are not quite there yet to get the mindset for success in place, so that they can start to accept themselves for who they are. And then in doing that, then they love themselves, and then they are taught to believe and are reprogrammed to believe that they can actually have anything that they desire in their life.
What kind of women are coming to you where you have to kind of physically restyle them? So this is really very much about looking, it's not about health and nutrition, I'm just curious, like, are they hobos that come to you, or?
Not necessarily. A lot lot of the clients I actually work with, I would say, were me 5 years ago. You know, they're people who mostly educated women who have got stuck in a rut. They potentially have become parents and have lost themselves in parenting somewhere, or they've, you know, maybe their kids have grown up and they've flown the nest, and somewhere along the line they just have lost a bit of their identity. So, I mean, I'm not talking about, you know, people that are necessarily living on the streets, etc. I'm talking about people who are your next door neighbour, just normal, routine, run-of-the-mill people who get up every day and potentially work part-time, or even maybe stay-at-home parents. So it's just the normal, routine, run-of-the-mill, you know, individuals who just need that little bit of extra help to find some time out for themselves, to rediscover themselves and to find out who they really are and who they want to be.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm so conscious about that as a parent. It really, to me, the key word, the operative word is balance. Like, seriously, I really don't want to have to learn this by the time my child is 15. I'm glad I know this now. I've been able to critically analyse situations, my mum's situation, other people's situations, and I really feel that at this time in my life is when I'm at the great parenting stage, because I really understand the balance. I understand where her needs and her attention is needed, and then I understand where I need to do my work. It's just this beautiful balance, and I can see where women get lost in the rut, the losing themselves in taking care of other people. But it's not impossible to have balance where you look after you and you look after them, because but you got to work that out first. This is the funny thing about being human, being here on earth. It's not, you got to work things out for yourself. And you know, you got great teachers, books even, that if you're ready to kind of go, okay, this isn't working and this isn't my destiny, there's got to be another way. And I'm just glad and very lucky that I figured it out before I had a child, because I knew this before I had a child. And, you know, give me another 3 children and maybe won't be so easy. Yeah.
I think sometimes you just get swamped by the amount of clothes that you have to launder, you know.
Yeah. I tell you what, just really quickly with I want to mention a niece of mine. She's only 5 or 6, she's about 6 years younger than me. I'm going to mention her name. Her name's Cassandra Bell. She's my niece. Now, she lives in Malta. She runs, I think, 3 businesses. She has 3 young boys. One of them has autism. Her husband, Simon, I think he's a professional photographer. She looks like a model, right? She's on my Facebook, obviously she's my niece, and she looks like a model. She has incredible style, a lot more probably than me. She really gets into fashion, and she's got her 3 little boys, and she's certainly not a selfish mother. But I look at her and I'm thinking, how on earth does she do it? She's got 3 young boys of all things, and she looks like a model. She's running 3 businesses because she's on it. She's obviously figured some stuff out. And she also helps other women with businesses, which is one of her businesses. So, you know, we're figuring things out, and that's what it's about. If you're at home and you're stuffing your face and you're looking after children, you're pulling your hair out and you're stressing out, and you wish things were differently, and you're doing this every day, you got to realize it's a choice you're making. The funny thing is about living that way is you actually don't think that you've chosen that, but this is where the big wake up, and I'm all about the reality check. I've got no problem with that. People have to realize where they are, especially as adults, not as children, as victimized children. As adults, we have chosen that. That's a very, very difficult pill for people to swallow, when they have to realize they actually have put themselves there. But once you realize that, the amount of power that you obtain by even just, that was my awakening moment when I realized it's very hard to admit to yourself, but where I put myself, I actually put myself there. That's how powerful I am and my negative thoughts are. that I've actually put myself there. So, okay, if the negative exists, then the positive must exist. So that's when you make little changes. But Cassandra Bell, if the world was to see this girl, and I'm going to have her on my show, you look at her and you go, how on earth is she doing it? She's doing it because she's chosen it. She chose that.
I think you make a really valid point. It is a choice. But as I always like to say to other people, the only person's opinion of you that matters is yourself. Try not to compare yourself to what everyone else is doing or has, because their journey is not your journey, and everyone's journey is unique. We're all coming from a different space and a different place. We all have different life experiences.
This is true. Julie, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded like it cut out. But this is very true. But I'm talking about the women that are in a place in their life that they don't want to be. I'm not talking about the mother that's at home with her 4 children. She's happy to be there. She's happy to be the at-home mum. She loves it. She loves welcoming her husband home with a meal, and she's happy where she is genuinely. I'm not talking about those types of women. I'm talking about the women who made the choice to be where they are, and where they are is not in a good place. And for me, if one comes to me, I would be very honest with them, and I would tell them that. I'd have no problem with that. I do not pat people on the back. I do not give sympathy. I'm a straight shooter. But then I come with all the warm and fuzzy stuff after that. But that's what people need to realise. I've actually put myself here, but that's okay, because if I put myself here, I've got the power to change things. Not overnight, but start making little changes. I don't like walking around being just eating junk all the time. And I want to dress nice, or I want to start looking nice. These are choices. They're your choices, though.
Yeah. I think awareness is 90% of the journey. If you're aware that you have a choice, a lot of the time people in that situation aren't aware yet. They haven't had that aha moment. They aren't in the situation where they do believe they have no power and control because they've given it up. And it is all about when and if they have that aha moment, or if they're fortunate enough to have friends that are nurturing and honest enough. Because let's face it, sometimes it's nice to be part of that misery mire, where everybody is actually down on everything. Because a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever had experience of friends who like to be negative, and when you're around them, all of a sudden it's easy to get caught up in that negativity, woe is me, and isn't life terrible, blah, blah, blah. But if you're fortunate enough to have that insight and self-awareness and self-belief that what you focus on is what you get. So if you are focusing on negative stuff, you were talking at the beginning of the show about vibration. So if you're in a place of loss of power and control, your vibration is extremely low in the universe, and you start to attract other low vibrational things into your life, which are usually quite negative. But if you are aware, you immediately raise your vibration and you start to attract more positive things into your life, and then you can build upon that and create the life that you desire, or the person that you want to be or become. So I think you're quite right about a choice and a vibration, but it is a case where you have to know your reality and be aware that you have control over that. You need to take 100% responsibility for your life. No one else is responsible for your happiness apart from yourself. And I think that's hugely important. When I learned that you know what, I have created this and I can choose happiness in an instant, in a heartbeat. That is the most empowering thing that you can give yourself, is knowing that I can make myself happy. I don't rely on external validation. I don't rely on material possessions to be happy. Have a look around the world. Have a look at some of the poorest people, or who, we in this Western, indulged world. Have a look at people around the world and see who are the people that are the happiest. who look happy. You see on television sometimes a lot of children running about in shanty shacks, mud streets, happy, playing in the streets, smiling, laughing. And we would class them being extremely poor and extremely deprived. But yet, culturally, they seem extremely happy with what they have and extremely grateful. And I think gratitude and appreciation for what you have is huge.
Well, I give thanks every day. I get my daughter and we sit together and we say thank you to the universe, thank you for everything we have. And I also remind her, and I'm going to be reminding her when she's a little older, that not all children are as lucky as her, and I want her to understand that. I don't want a spoiled little child with every bit of technology and every toy that you can get. I want her to understand not I'm not going to teach her all the negativity of the world, but I want her to understand that she's very lucky and not all children are lucky. And you're talking about the development phase up until 7 years old. I take that role very seriously. So I know what I'm going to need to do for the first 7 years of her life. And it's definitely to teach her things like that and teach her gratitude, because, something about me, Julie, like I've had a child a little bit later in life. So I had my child in my late 30s as opposed to in my 20s, right? Lucky for me, I was always one of these very adventurous people. That's probably why I ended up in music as a radio host. I'm a little bit left of centre, probably a lot more left of centre. I don't do things like normal people do, and I'm proud of that. But one of the things that I was also very proud of is I was like Alice in Wonderland with the world. I needed to go out there and turn over rocks. I wanted to know the nature of reality. I wanted to know why I'm here. I wanted to know why you're here. I just had so many questions from when I was a child. So I decided as an adult that I was going to grow up and go out into the world and get answers to my questions. And part of that was I was so fortunate enough to meet so many people in my journeys. I've met poor people, I've met wealthy people, I've met famous people, I've met all kinds of people. And there was one particular man I met, his name is Anthony. And he's really good friends with Eric Bana. He's got like a gallery, an art gallery in his house. He's got one of my dad's pictures in his house. So he's a friend of mine. I haven't spoken to him for some years. So he was quite a wealthy man. But he was very, very depressed. And he sat down with me because I like to get deep with people. I like sharing stories, especially with older people. Tell me your stories. I want to learn. And I remember him sitting me down and he said, look at everything I've got. Do you think I'm happy? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. You tell me if you're happy. He said, my ex-wife and I spent our whole life chasing money. It was all about the attaining wealth. That's all we cared about. We did that. We did that with our children. We did that with each other. And he said, because we had like a van at that time, and he saw that I had the van, and we were going camping and just enjoying life, going around in this camper van. And he said he was jealous. He said, I'm so envious that you just going out and, getting in your camper van and just enjoying and experiencing life. I thought, this is very interesting. So he's giving me advice to not spend my life just chasing money. And it was one of them. Sometimes people sit down, they talk to you, and it just really sticks. I really understood what he was saying. Now he's at a point in his life, he doesn't have the wife anymore, he barely sees his kids. He was so superficial his whole life chasing money, and now he's really unhappy. Again, to me, it comes down to balance. We are very lucky. We've got this technology. We can go buy stuff from the shop down the road. We've got everything very easy. But it even makes me wonder how we can even have a culture that's so riddled with depression. Our bellies are full. We've got everything. We live like kings. Literally, the way even a poorer person in our society these days lives literally like a king would have in the medieval times. But we still suffer from so many social ills and depression and all this stuff. What are we missing, Julie? What in your journeys, with all the work you've done, the books you've written, what is it that people are missing when we've got everything? What is it?
I think it's that elusive sort of thing. Money does not, money doesn't make you happy. Money doesn't buy you love. And at the end of the day, it comes down to love, self-worth and contribution. And knowing that just by breathing and being on the earth that you make a difference. And it's paring your life back or stripping your life back to bare bones almost. And to say that, if you're not living your life in the truly authentic way, according to your values and belief systems, then you'll always be searching for the elusive something else.
What is that elusive something else? What is it?
It's different for every person, because I think if you're living your passion and living your dream. So, for instance, think of something you absolutely love to do. And something that you get lost in. For me, it's writing, okay, or speaking. Nothing gives me more pleasure than you've seen me, in action even on a one-on-one or a one-to-many. If I can give someone the gift of seeing how valuable they are in someone else's life or in their own life, then that fills me with such joy and such passion that I could do that forever and not get paid for it.
Julie, are you aware of the term light warrior?
Light warrior. Yeah. No, I've actually never heard that before.
Okay, well, because I kind of traffic in the spiritual realms as well. When I say spiritual realms, I mean a lot of my friends are kind of, esoteric and spiritual, and there's a term that we call, and some of us call it a light worker. Some of us, I prefer the word warrior, light warrior. A light worker is exactly what you just described about yourself. Someone that and I know you, so I know your sincerity when you say what you've just said. A light worker is someone who helps others and helps others in deep, profound ways like you're talking about now. I'm surprised you've never heard the term. Because you are definitely...
Light worker, not light warrior. Yeah, I've heard of the term light worker or soulpreneur.
A soulpreneur? I've never heard that one. That's a great one.
I'm a member of a group of soulpreneurs and heartpreneurs, and we like to think of ourselves as people who help other people to shine, shine their light on the world and see their value and see their worth. And often we do, there's a lot of spiritual people amongst that,
let's say quote unquote spiritual people, shall we?
Yeah, whatever that means to you, I think some people think of, spiritual. I think we're all spiritual people. We're all one, and that would be controversial for other people to hear. But I believe that it's all energy, isn't it? It's all energy, it's all vibration. We're all sharing the same pool of whatever it is we're sharing.
And the reason I made the joke about the spiritual quote unquote is just because I'm in this world, this esoteric alternative media world. I do see a lot of people claiming to be spiritual quote unquote, claiming to be service to others. They talk about it all the time, and they're the absolute opposite of what they're saying they are. And so I say quote unquote spiritual. It's just an umbrella term, but to me, spiritual is really about literally looking inside, literally enjoying the moment, because, I was talking about the elusive something before, mm-hmm. and I think Eckhart Tolle addressed that in really enjoying the moment. You think about it, Julie, he sold millions of copies of a book that just explained to you about just enjoy the moment, and that was his ultimate message, and
the power of now.
The power of now, and it sold millions and millions of copies. So the world needed to hear that at that time. Think about how, wow, he sold millions of copies just to remind people to just enjoy the moment. It's repetition. That's what he's explaining. And I think that's the elusive something. I think that's what it is, that you're in the moment, you're persistently and consistently within a millisecond making choices from moment to moment. And I think the spiritual really does deal more with the quantum side of things, and the knowledge we're getting now through choosing your timelines, and actually merely by choice alone is how you're molding it, and you're the architect of your own reality, really. And I think that's the elusive something, not your head in the past, where I used to be. My head was always in the past, or this fear of the future, or this fantasy of the future. And thank God that dude came along when he did, because obviously the world needed to be reminded of, stop. Just stop, everyone. Just the moment is all that matters. And that is absolutely 100% correct. I wish I'd have thought of that and wrote a book about it. I'd be a millionaire too.
Hell, I'd be happy to be the best-selling author of that one, but I'm sure my time will come. I love the fact that you talk about, going back to what you were saying about curiosity. I know we're all on a quest and a search for that elusive something else to a certain extent, but if we are present in the moment, I think we lose that chase for something else, and our eyes are open to the wonder of what we have and the appreciation of just smelling the roses, looking at nature. Nothing, if I'm feeling stressed and needing grounded, and life does get busy, I have 3 beautiful children who are all very sporty, and I work in my own private practice. As you know, I also work for City Council, and just that constant busyness. I love to be busy. I thrive on busyness, I have a passion for having my fingers in a lot of pies and for doing a lot of stuff. But that's because I get a kick out of it. That is my passion and my purpose. Other people would hate my life, but I love my life.
Just as you would hate their life. Like, some people, Julie, might be quite content, going to work, coming home, cooking dinner and watching television. I mean, they're literally content in that paradigm, and I don't think that would be. You wouldn't like that, would you? I wouldn't like that.
That would be my utopia. No, have you seen my cooking?
I haven't tasted it, but if you want to cook for me sometime. Hey, Julie, we're going to come to a break now, so go grab yourself a cuppa or something. And what I'll do is I'll just pause this call, and the break will kick in. I'll probably go for about 5 minutes or so, and we can continue. I'd really like to talk about strategies with the whole living in the moment thing. I'd like to actually talk about it in practical terms, because I've got some, and they're not talk. If people know me, you realise I'm a real sort of walker of the talk, so I've got some, really like to talk about that a little bit more as well. And we've got to give the audience your contact details, and we'll get into that when we return. So you're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show with my beautiful guest, Julie Gibson. We'll be right back.
Lovely.
I'm a seeker, I'm a finder, and I wanna be me. I wanna be loved, and I wanna be free. Yeah, free. You're like glass and I see you right through. I'm hurting inside you and you wouldn't even have a clue. I'm a lover, I'm a fighter, I control the will. It's all in my head and I only need a friend. Yeah. You're like glass and I see right through. I'm hanging inside or you wouldn't even have a clue. Would you? I'm a seeker, I'm a finder, and I wanna be me. I wanna be loved and I wanna be free. seeker, I'm a finder, and I wanna be me. I'm a seeker, I'm a finder, and I wanna be free. 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 I wanna be free.
Okay, welcome back. You're listening to the Helena Phoenix Show. I'm always just about to say time to shine, but it kind of still is time to shine. But here on Wolf Spirit Radio, so thanks for joining us. And we are listener supported at Wolf Spirit Radio, so any donation, even some help, like we're looking for producers around the world. Producers from the UK, from Scotland, even from the USA, from Australia, from anywhere around the world. So Spain even, I suppose you've got to speak English. I do speak fluent Spanish, but JP is looking for producers. So if you're interested in producing at Wolf Spirit Radio, you can contact me, or if you just contact me if you've got any questions. I've been getting really amazing emails actually since I started at Wolf Spirit Radio. I mean, really great emails, feedback about my shows, and really positive kind of, I've even been asked if I need assistance with anything. So I've got a very good reception being here at Wolf Spirit Radio. So I want to thank everyone that has contacted me. But if you want to contact me because you want to produce or help out at Wolf Spirit Radio, and I'll tell you, if you're going to deal with JP, who's the head and the machine and the motor and everything at Wolf Spirit Radio, he is an exceptional man to deal with here. And I'm not just saying that, he really is. He's funny, he's easygoing, he knows his stuff, he's tech savvy, he knows what's going on in the world, and he's just an amazing dude. So you can contact me at timetoshineradio@gmail.com, all lowercase, timetoshineradio@gmail.com. If you've got any questions for me, or if you want to be a guest, or you've got a sister that wants to be a guest because she's really interesting and she's got a lot of interesting stuff to share, anything like that, just shoot me an email. Or if you want me to, or if you want me to pass anything on to JP because you want help produce, so that'd be awesome. So I've been talking with my good friend and author Julie Gibson, and I've got to tell you, my friends, I'm going to say this, all right? I used to have friends that were, I shouldn't use the word losers, but probably I was one too. Okay, because who you hang out with, is it not true, Julie? Who you hang out with is really much a reflection of who you are. You know, you are the people you hang out with. That was another makeover I had to do in my life. I realized I wasn't vibing with these people anymore. I had to move on. So the amazing thing about my friends these days is they're just extreme in one way or another. You know, they are authors. They are out there trying to make a difference, trying to make money in an honest way, not because they're asking for handouts. They're actually got something to offer. And money being an energy, you know, I've got an energy, I'll give something, and money is a currency. I mean, there's all kinds of currency, and money happens to be one of them. But all my friends are really amazing. They're authors, or they're just, it's like my best friend, the godmother of my child is a police sergeant. And she's really spiritual, though. Like, my friends are extreme, and I love that. So, and I consider Julie a friend. She's only less than half an hour away from me, regardless of her Scottish accent. So, thanks again for joining us, Julie. And just before the break, we were talking about living in the moment. I want to start talking about your books, your writing, and all that a little bit more. But I just wanted to talk about this living in the moment thing, how it sounds really cliche. It sounds a bit Oprah. And I don't really do Oprah, I've got to be honest. But she was very handy in the 90s because she was actually trying to break people's programs from the programming that was... Anyway, that gets deep. I can do another show on that. My point is, living in the moment is... Okay, well, I'll give you an example. something that potentially can happen next week that's not something you're looking forward to. In fact, every time you think about it, it causes a little bit of anxiety and fear. I lived in that state. Or if it wasn't a future event that I was feeling anxiety over, it was a past event I was feeling anxiety over. And I tell you, these days, I might get really annoyed in the moment. It happened today because I was on the phone with Apple. And they had me on hold for half an hour, and I was warning my husband and my baby. I'm like, okay, I'm really annoyed right now, but I'm really aware of my moods. Like, I know what's going on with me. You won't be the first to know. I'm the first to know. But I'm very real and I'm very honest with myself in the moment, but I'll get over it very quickly. And that's the thing about living in the moment. It's about not thinking about the past because it's irrelevant. And then the future events, they haven't happened yet. They have not happened. And even when the event does occur, you have to go to court. Not that I have to go to court, but just say something is going to happen that is tied with anxiety. You got to realize the event hasn't happened yet. So you're creating a timeline that hasn't actually happened. So that's my little bit of advice about really living in the moment. You don't send anxiety to future or past events because it's, oh my gosh, such a waste of time. Just chill. Just be cool because it's going to be all right. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. You cannot change the past. You can only live for the here and now. And you cannot think constantly about the what ifs in life because 99% of them don't happen. So I think, living in the moment and being present is the most important gift that you can actually give yourself. All the rest is just fluff. It's white noise. Yeah.
I call it wallpaper. I say everything else is just wallpaper.
Well, it is because you've got to be real. Most of the stuff you even think about or worry about, what is it they say that you think the same thoughts? 90% of the thoughts that you think are unoriginal. It's the same shit, just different day. Mm-hmm. And you just play it over and over and over again. Most of the thoughts that you have aren't original. So it's about living in the moment and not dwelling on the past and not worrying about the future. Just being you.
Yeah, and I promised my listenership, that at least probably every show or every second show, I'm going to remind everyone of this. Now, this is scientific fact, okay? That when something happens to us, and I'm not sure if I've mentioned this to you yet, that elicits an emotional response, no matter how bad it is, that it elicits some sort of an emotional response, that emotional response should only physically last 10 to 20 minutes. Anything outside of the 10 to 20 minutes where you're in that zone, that emotional, it's hit you emotionally somehow, is actually anything outside of the 10 to 20 minutes you're actually creating. So you're bringing your own fear, your own insecurity, your own filters, everything else after the 20 minutes is yours. You own it. And I tell you, I found this out probably about 3 months ago, and every little tidbit of information I get in my life that I think is really pertinent, it's going to help me live a better life, that was one of them. You think about the 10 and 15 minutes is a normal emotional response. Anything past that is your own fears, insecurities, projections, filters. It's yours. So you can actually just, after 20 minutes, go, actually, I'm actually going to let go of this emotion that I have attached to it. It's gone. After 20 minutes.
Letting go is huge, though. I mean, we like to say in the coaching world that fear is actually false experience appearing real. So you actually create a fear. It's actually false. Fear and excitement are actually the same experience with just a different emotion attached. Which I think is really interesting, So you create your reality, and it's exactly what you just said. Like, you will have an emotional response to something, which is a learned behavior because you've made an experience mean something to you. But that experience can be experienced by two different people, and they will come out with a different perception.
That's the beauty of individuality. You know, we all have these subjective, sorry, I was just playing with my mic. We have subjective experiences, every single one of us, and everything's relative and subjective to the observer. So, you know, it really makes you wonder how we should even be judging one another. These days, honestly, I judge people on their values, or the values they're pretending to have, for instance, and they get caught out in the fact that they actually don't have those values. They're the kind of judgments I have these days with people. But let's get into your writing. You were saying before, I mean, obviously you're an author, so you love to write. But what's the next step for you? So you got this book, You Can Live the Life of Your Dreams. Now, is this book, before we go into the next book, is this book available on Amazon? How do people get this book?
It's available on Amazon. It's also available from our Facebook page and website. So it's just www.youcanlivethelifeofyourdreams.com. And the Facebook page is exactly the same title. So it's You Can Live the Life of Your Dreams. And so we also are available on Amazon, and similar to the current book that will be out in November, it's called You Can Be Your Own Stylist. And it's the ultimate lifestyling makeover manual. And it's really about creating the life that you want and that you desire through something as basic as knowing who you are, and then knowing how to project that in what you wear, and that attracts what you want into your world. So it's very basic styling book on, you know, how to make over your wardrobe. I mean, how many women have a wardrobe full of clothes but still have nothing to wear? And that's because often in our journey of life, we are many different people and wear many different hats. And we don't actually necessarily spend time to know who we truly are. And it's all about values and beliefs, what you mentioned, Helena. You know, it's all about looking at the values and beliefs that you have and being truly authentic to that, not trying to be someone that you're not wearing outfits or clothes that are not truly you. Because, you know, the thing about all that is, if you are being someone that isn't you, just like if you are wearing clothes that aren't who you truly are, you will fidget all night and feel uncomfortable in those clothing. It's the same. You will eventually show yourself for who you truly are. So my best advice I have to all my lovely clients and followers is just be true to who you are, because you know what? The right people will love you, and the right people will accept you, and the right people will come into your life.
That's right. And you know, I personally, I would much prefer a person, for instance, you're talking about being real and being true to who you are. I love people that make no bones about who they are or how they dress. For instance, okay, so someone might be outlandish in the way they dress, and it's not particularly modern culture fashion, but they carry themselves with serious swagger, and they got swag. That's what matters to me. The way you're carrying yourself, as opposed to someone pretending to kind of living in wearing certain clothes. It's not them, but they're doing it because that's kind of what you're supposed to do. There's a big difference. So I'm really very much all about swagger and being who you really are. And with this book, how is it different to other stylist books? What makes this one unique?
I think in the fact that we're not telling people how to dress. We're giving people clues as to who they truly are. So it's giving permission to people
and unique and being
to be their own unique brand of style. You know, everyone has a unique being. We all have a unique set of values and beliefs, and it's all about just accepting who you are, accepting the body that you currently are in. And that's not taking away from the fact what you said earlier, that if you love yourself and who you are now, you may or may not choose to take a healthier, diet or exercise more or become someone different. But it's actually accepting the body that you have now and loving the body that you have now and being truly authentic to yourself. And in doing so, you will then attract into your life the right people, the right job, the right, the right relationship, and everything follows. Successful style is all about being confident in who you are and knowing who you are and knowing what you want to say to the world. And just saying, that's okay. I am a massive fan, and I don't know if you're aware of them. There's a group of women in New York and in America called Advanced Style. And I am in love with these ladies. They are more senior in years, and they have just embraced the fact that they are different and they are all unique. And there are YouTube videos on Advanced Style, and you can tap into them. And yet some of them, are off the wall, but I love that.
I love off the wall, Julie.
I love it. I love the fact that these women are saying, a lot of people, as they grow up, they tame themselves. But I love the fact that as I grow up and grow older, I actually get wilder, if that's at all possible. I like to shock people. My children are constantly going, oh, mom, what are, but I'm actually proud of the fact that I actually don't really care what
I love that about you, Julie. That's definitely, I love that about you. And I noticed that about you in a few of our first meetings, and I'm like, I'm going to be friends with this woman because I like people that are unique, that like I said, they make no bones about who they are and they make no apologies for it. So if you've written a book that elicits that and almost gives women permission, which you obviously don't need and I don't need, to be that true authentic self, it's probably exactly what the world needs right now. And I think, sometimes if we start from where your angle, where you're starting, and women do get a little bit of taste of a bit more self-esteem or whatever. And I've got another great question for you in a moment. I hope I don't forget it. But we make better women. We make better women for our men. So I hope men aren't listening to this and kind of putting their hands on the hips like a bunch of feminists. Actually, no, we want to be tapping into our divine feminine. I did a show on the divine feminine. So what you don't want is women that have no self-esteem. They are the dangerous ones. The women who have to come from a controlling angle, that are probably more operating in the masculine.
Sure.
You don't want that. I think what we're inadvertently talking about a little bit here is tapping into more that divine feminine, where you are feeling better about yourself. And what happens when a woman, I tell you what, when mama's happy, everybody's happy. If mama's unhappy, the house can come down. And
my good friends, Helena, say, and this is he's Scottish, and he's married to a Scottish woman, and he always says, and he tells his boys this every day, a happy life is a happy wife.
I like that.
And I laugh, and boys always know, like, if mummy's not happy, then all in the world and all in our house may not go as smoothly as it could do. So I love that, but I also love the fact, I'm a single mum. I often joke, which I probably shouldn't do, but I have...
No, you keep doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say this on radio, so you might have to edit this bit out. But I often say I have more balls than most men.
Oh, you can say that.
Yeah, okay. So I often say that, but I am never happier than when I have a man in my life that allows me to be in my vulnerable feminine, and I bask in that. And then my true magnificence. Look, I've been brought up by a women's libber, a Scottish nationalist, who always said, you can be, do and have everything, and you can do it bigger and better than the men in your life. I have no desire for that. I know I'm a woman and I'm truly happy to be one, but I am also delighted that there are men out there, you know. There's nothing that gives me more pleasure than a man's man allowing his woman to be in her beautiful feminine. And I do believe that's how the world is made to go round, you know.
Well, you know, I'm going to share the story of Medusa. Is everyone aware of the story of Medusa? With the famous female face with all the snakes coming.
Absolutely.
Well, the mythology behind that, it's probably got a few mythologies, but the one that I'm aware of is she's angry, okay? So you got this mythological iconography where it's a symbol of a woman with snakes. You know, what does this mean? But she was at battle with a soldier, and she was angry, obviously, and she was all encompassing, and she had the snakes, Medusa. When her head was chopped off, her head fell to the ocean and became beautiful coral, and that is actually a metaphor. So many, I'm getting goosebumps because our world is full of symbols, iconography, and metaphors. If you look a little deeper, but it was when she was. The cutting off of her head was a metaphor for, how could I put this, like not being in that state where, of anger. She was no longer there, and she turned into beautiful coral. I think that's what we deal with women in society, and I'd like to do a show talking about the issues that we have with men. But we have a lot of issues with women at the moment, and what happens is we need our women strong. We need our women beautiful and strong, not controlling and bossy and narcissistic and pushy and manipulative. We need nurturing, beautiful, strong, not doormats, but women who understand their personal power and use it in beautiful ways. And I'm hoping to see more of this. And this is the question I had for you, Julie. Have you seen, or come across women or a woman, or if you'd like to share a story of a woman that seemed very, very broken, for instance? And if so, have you been able to help her not be broken, so to speak? But do women come to you rather broken?
I think a lot of women come. Yeah, I mean, I think broken is definitely a way to look at it. I think, I mean, this is a whole other show on masculine, feminine, divine, masculine, feminine energies and divinity, and get me started on the state of, relationships and divorce and children and why the world is in the state it's in at the moment. That's a whole different show for me. But I think disillusioned, maybe broken. I certainly see women who are lost. I would say lost, and who want to be feminine, in their feminine, divine feminine, as you put it, and who don't know how to be that anymore, and therefore they are lost and they don't know who they are. And the sad thing of life is that they withdraw from their relationships and they withdraw from intimacy. And really, when a woman is truly loved and in her element, a woman is open to huge intimacy and desire, but they often close that down because they don't feel heard, they don't feel understood, and the first things in relationships that tend to close down are these things, because they don't know how else to express themselves. So yeah, I've definitely come across many women who have been in that broken state, if you like to call it that, who, by just acknowledging who they are and what they actually want, and learning to express that. And if the medium for expression is clothing, for instance, and learning to use a splash of colour to show their personality, or to encourage romance back into their life, or a bit of play in the bedroom, a bit of dressing up, whatever it takes for that person or that woman to feel to get into that feminine again, because when women are in their feminine, their man wants to look after them, they want to nurture them, they want to provide for them, and a woman then thrives on that situation. As I say, whole different show on masculine and feminine energies. I'd love to get into that with you at the moment, but there's so much else to talk about. So yes, I hear what you're saying. There are a lot of broken or vulnerable women who need a lot of help and who need permission to say, you know what? You deserve to love you. You deserve to shine. You deserve to be the person that you want to be.
I know, isn't that sad though, that they need permission? I'll say this to everybody, you do not need permission. Unfortunately, you're right. And it's like, yeah, they need permission, but you don't actually need permission. This is...
Don't, but they think they do.
Yeah.
They've been conditioned to believe that they do. They don't see what I see in the mirror. I see my clients. There's a fantastic YouTube video going around that's on our Facebook page on You Can Be Your Own Stylist, and it's in America, and they've put a mirror in a mall. And what they've actually done is they've got in touch with the families, the husbands, the lovers, the people, the children in these women's lives. And so these women have gone up to this, what they think is an interactive mirror, which then tells them positive messages about themselves. It asks them to look in the mirror and rate how they view themselves, from being, hot to, it actually says woof, which appalled me, and some women actually put themselves down as woof, woof, like a dog barking. They actually had such low self-esteem when they looked in the mirror that they could not see their beauty. They actually believed that they didn't. I can't. It actually makes me choke up to talk about it.
The irony of that and the paradox of that is if you don't see your own beauty, and no one else is going to see it, and that's what it really comes down to. I see Mother Teresa as beautiful. And I'm talking about Mother Teresa because what was shining outwardly of that woman. And, these women that think of themselves that way, well, this is what we need to be teaching people. We are so archaic. We are still so behind that. I've got another one for you. That's very interesting. Did you finish with that thought? Because I'm going to add to that. Was there more to that story?
I think what I would just love to share is that through this interactive mirror, what they actually had done was they pre-recorded family and children's thoughts and views on the women. And as the women interacted with the mirror then showed them their family and showed them videos of what the family thought of them and how beautiful they truly were and how loved they were. And what happened was truly amazing. These women were all crying. They broke down. They had no value placed on themselves, but hearing it from people that they loved and people who they actually had an impact on these individuals' lives, like their husbands, their children, their partners, their friends, and hearing it from someone else actually made them see that, you are worthy, you are loved, you are beautiful.
Well, they were very lucky to have people in their lives that were able to vocalize that about them. They're very lucky women to have that experience, I'd say.
But they are, but I think most of us will find someone that sees their true worth and beauty. And you know what? If you don't, change your friends, change your circle, because we all need a cheer squad. We all need someone who believes in us.
Oh, that's true. I think I've gone another level. It's another irony. The less I needed it, the more it came. The less I literally needed external validation, the more I got it. And when I was desperate for external validation, I never got it. And I'm sincerely saying I just didn't need the external validation anymore. And I might come across as a little bit, I'm not narcissistic, I'm definitely a little bit vain. But I wouldn't. Pardon?
I think we all are.
Yeah. Self-confessed vanity, that's fine, but, it definitely doesn't interfere with my true values and things like that. But, I'm no longer at the point I need permission. I think that's why I'm able to do the work I do, and people do kind of, I don't want people to follow me, but to kind of look up to me a little bit, because I do that. I do that with my music. I do that with everything. I don't need permission, and, I march to the beat of my heart, and I try to encourage everyone else to do it. And what happens, ironically, you just start having synchronistic events that don't need to be forced. They just do happen. There was something, that's right, this is what I wanted to get into. You were talking about this mirror situation, this video. There's another one I saw, and this one, I tell you, I've got mixed feelings about this. And I'm going to be very honest. That's one thing I like to do on my shows. I like to keep it real, and I like to be honest, and don't like to bullshit too much, if ever. I try not to, okay? But I reacted to something I saw, and it really pissed me off. These women actually really annoyed me. But I saw two sides of the coin. I understood why, but at the same time, the patheticness of it just did my head in. That's me being honest, okay? You've probably seen this, Julie. It's called the beauty patch. It was an experiment. Did you hear about this? Have you seen it?
Actually, no, I haven't.
Okay. So women, there was a controlled group of women, I think it was around 10 women or so, and they fit the criteria, the profile of women that were, they didn't feel too good about themselves, and, they wished they looked different, they didn't really feel like they were beautiful, all that crap. So they fit the profile. And they were part of this controlled experiment, and they were given a new product. You got creams and cosmetics, and this was revolutionary. It was the beauty patch, and it's like a cigarette nicotine patch, but you put it on and you wear it, and after a week you will become more beautiful. Oh, God. Anyway, so I saw straight through this straight away. I saw straight through what was going on, but I won't give too much away until I finish. So the beauty patch. So these women got interviewed before the beauty patch. After a week of the beauty patch, they got interviewed again. How do you feel now? How's the patch feel? It is a beauty patch, and it's supposed to be making you feel beautiful. That's the new technology we've got. These women were literally saying, I'm walking in a shopping centre with my head up high. I feel fantastic. I feel beautiful. Now, keeping in mind this is a week later, and they look exactly the same. But the perception of themselves changed because they were told that this patch was going to make them more beautiful. Okay, so every single one of them felt, and she looked more beautiful. Her behaviour, her body language, everything changed. And what you see at the end of this experiment, you see the doctor in a white lab coat. This is how much they know what they're doing is great experiment. Sat face to face with each woman and held up the patch. And the patch was a placebo. And the women was shown that you were wearing a placebo, quote unquote, beauty patch. The point of that, do I even need to explain the point of that, Julie?
I think we've all, I'm from a medical background, and we all know the placebo effect. If we tell patients that they get drug A and drug A is going to make them better, it's all about the power of the mind. It's mind over matter. And you know what? In all walks of life, it's true. And I actually, I don't care how people feel better about themselves, really. If a placebo beauty patch, whether it's real or not real, makes people feel better, you know what? So what?
Oh, I'm of such a different school of thought, though. I really am. It's a Band-Aid. It's literally a Band-Aid. That's not a solution. She's going to take the patch off and hop in the shower, feel ugly again. Personally, I think that could cause some serious mental issues, but the patch isn't actually a real patch. They're not marketing the patch as a beauty patch or anything like that. This was an experiment, purely an experiment.
They do it all the time in drug trials. They do it all the time in drug trials and in health. And you know what? If people get the result they desire, I think it's a bit bad to then tell them that they're on a placebo trial and it's all bollocks. Because I think then that's sad, because that's when the damage can be done.
No, I think the point of the experiment was it was actually done with very good intentions. It was a way to show the women, some of the women broke down crying when they realised this was the point of the experiment. You don't need a patch. You don't need validation. You don't need anything. You're already beautiful. That was the beauty behind the experiment. They weren't doing it to be cruel. They were actually doing it for a multi-pronged reason to really illustrate and underpin how this, the psychology of a lot of women and the way they feel so down on themselves, it underpinned that and it illustrated that. And it also illustrated, this is what I was going to say before about being honest. I was just like, oh my God, they're my species. How could it? Oh God. That was my initial reaction. And then I looked a little deeper and I realized why they were doing the experiment. They were the ultimate light workers that were doing this experiment. These women felt really silly afterwards, but they also had a big awakening, a big awakening. So, like I said, this patch is not on the market. It was not an experiment to put this patch on the market. It was to illustrate the point of you don't need anything. You're already there. You see,
you're already beautiful.
Yeah.
And look, if that's the message they were delivering,
that's what it was.
And if that was their true intention, and if the women involved in the trial got some value out of it, then that's fantastic. Because at the end of the day, we're all individual and we're all fabulous and we're all beautiful. And if people genuinely can understand that and see that, then, does it matter how they get there?
Yeah, I love the term fabulous. Like, just be fabulous,
Just be fabulous. I mean, what's beauty anyway? What is normality anyway? It's all a perception and it's all individual, and what you believe is beauty or wonderful or fabulous, I may, have a slightly different opinion. So at the end of the day, it's just about being you, loving yourself and being fabulous, truly authentically you.
Correct, which again probably make you a better mother and a better lover and a better friend and a better all those things if you just be you, and forget all the other programming and the rubbish and the stuff on television and the stuff they tell you that you need, because and a lot of this is actually for young women. I think a lot of young women get caught up in this kind of spiral, really, this psychological spiral of what they're expected to be. I think as women, they get a bit older, they get out of the trappings of that and they become a lot more confident in who they are. Even older women, that are 60, 65, who I look up to. I've got older friends in my life who are, these women are ooze self-esteem and they're a bunch older than me, and I love that. They're the women I look up to. I think a lot of this message would be good for younger women, because I tell you what, Julie, the messages that are being sent to these young women, it's almost like everything's like this mixture. The messages is like this soft porn, fashion, airbrushed kind of reality that's been thrown at these girls.
Tragic. I have a daughter who's nearly 14, and I love her. She's my motivation, my inspiration for being the individual person that I am, and to help her see that, you are beautiful inside and out. No one else can say what that beauty is. You make your own self, and you don't need anyone else's external validation to be the beautiful person that you are, because she is beautiful and she is amazing. And I tell her every single day how lovely and beautiful and amazing she is. And, I am extremely lucky. I have boys and girls. I appreciate that I get both sides of the coin, and I know I'm blessed, but every day I understand the pressure that's with women and young girls nowadays, and they don't want to stand out. They want to conform. They want to wear what's in vogue, on trend. They want to fit in. And you know what? The sad thing about it is high street fashion is not designed for the individual. It's not designed for different body shapes. It's designed for a specific boxed slim body shape, which doesn't allow for people to show individuality. I mean, I've just been to Bali with my daughter, and we've bought clothes from markets which are one size fits all. Now, how many of us are one size fits all? It just amuses me. But also, like, she wanted to have the same clothes, and she bought several items of clothing exactly the same for her friends, so they could all be the same. They could all fit in, they could all conform, they could all look great. I mean, you know, I always say to my daughter, you could wear anything, including a Hessian sack, and you would still be beautiful.
And it's the way you carry yourself, and make no bones about it, because I tell you what, that would be much more attractive than the latest looking fashionable girl dressed up with no personality. I mean, personality to me is don't underestimate what shines through and what shines through those eyes. I've seen it, and it really is what really matters and what's really important. I'm not just saying that. Yeah, looks are great. Looks matter, and but like I said earlier, looks will get you in the door, or the right clothing will get you in the door. It doesn't mean you stay. And it's so good that you're teaching your daughter these values and you're telling her this every day. Because does it hit home with her? Does she believe you? Does she feel it?
I hope so. You can only hope that, you know, I'm extremely proud of who she is and all that she's achieved. But you know what? There comes a time in your daughter's life when you are not their everything, and external validation is what they look up to, and
from their peers, etc.
Yeah, and that's a sad reality that we have, and all I can hope is that, you know, the foundations that she's been given in life are such that she believes in herself enough. I always say to my children, you can be, do and have anything that you desire. And the biggest gift in life, I travel with my kids. I'm very lucky. I tell them that they are lucky. I show them that they are lucky. But you can't make people, you know, conform or understand or have that appreciation for life. You can only give them experiences and hope that they will take from those experiences things that will shape who they are in life, and appreciate things and become the person that they're going to be.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you can't blame your parents. You can't keep looking back on the past. You have the power and the ability to change your programming. We talked about this way back at the beginning of your program. You know, it's all about
the program.
The program.
This is our own. We're doing our own programming right here.
Yeah, well, it is all about, you know what, you can have a life and an experience, but at the end of the day, you still have the power to reprogram yourself and choose a different path. So at the end of the day, you know, your parents do what they do. You know, I am of a belief that they do the best they can do with the tools that are available in their toolbox, and then you have a choice. You have a choice when you become of an age where you have a bigger awareness that, yeah, you can choose to be a victim, you can choose to use what you've been given, or you can choose a different path. And that is up to each individual person, you know, and you know, I'm blessed. I was raised and was given an education, you know, and I was given a love for books and a love for reading and a love for self-development. And I know that I've been blessed, but equally other people have had the same experiences or had the same opportunities that I've had, but maybe have chosen a different path. And it's all about that choice, and it comes down to individualism, I believe. That, you know, you and I maybe have come from completely different backgrounds, but look at the amazing person that you are. Look at the stuff that you're doing. And, you know, I have come from an extremely blessed background, you know, and I've come from educated parents who always gave me that, you know, educate yourself, stand in your own 2 feet. I'm always lucky. I've always been able to earn a certain standard of living, you know, financially. So I've been given, you know, I do believe that I've been given opportunities in life that other people haven't. But then you look at other people in life that haven't come from such amazing beginnings, but also have created amazing stuff in their life. So it is all about path. It is all about choice. It is all about responsibility at the end of the day. And that's what I would love to sort of say to you and leave you with, that, you know, at the end of the day, we all have a choice. We all have the power. It's our choice to do something with the knowledge that we have to make something of ourselves.
Yeah, I remember as a child looking around, even as a small child, 5, 6 years old, and saying, this couldn't be it. There has to be more. I mean, I was consciously aware of that. This couldn't be it. And if there isn't more, I'm going to have to look for it myself. And that's precisely what I did. And one thing, I don't speak to all my family. I'm very close to a lot of my nieces and nephews who are closer to me in age, because I'm the youngest of 9. So my oldest sisters had children, and, you know, my nieces and nephews are closer in age. But where was I going? Oh, one thing about my family, although I don't see my sisters or speak to my sisters, that actually don't speak to one another. I did some shows on this when I started on Revolution Radio. So I've been quite candid about that. And it took a lot of years of healing to get over that. But what I really admire about my family is my family are not sheep. They are, every single one of them is like a leader. Every single one of them does not, they do things their way, they always have, and they make no bones about it. And obviously I come from that, so I couldn't help but have that DNA, that warrior DNA. And that's me. Did I make the choices to get to where I am now? Yeah, I certainly did. I was also talking about that niece earlier, and I was there. I saw what this poor girl went through, okay? I saw abuse, and this girl is now a gorgeous adult woman, divine woman. And, you know, these are our leaders. These are the women that are, you know, marching forward. And, you know, some women can be that can rub off on them, and it can be of inspiration to them. We're all in our different stages, our own subjective, relative stages in our life. That's the funny thing of life. It's fluid. We're all at different stages is what it comes down to. Me as a teacher, Julie as a teacher, anyone who's a teacher, that's all we've got. We can teach. The rest is really up to the receiver, what you want to do with it. And that's what makes whatever you want to do as an individual is in being unique. And it's not about filling out some cookie cutter idea about what we're supposed to be, although that is what they're trying to sell us. That is what the media is selling you. You want to look a little bit different or act a little bit different. We will make sure you get ostracized. We will make sure you get scorned. These are the old ways. Those old tricks, they're disappearing because more books like this are coming out and more knowledge is coming out, and we are feeling like, I can be me. I'm going to march to the beat of my heart. I'm going to write songs about it. I'm going to, you know, and I went through a time where people were like, what are you doing that for, Helena? Like, what, you know, what are you doing? It's like, what? Like, seriously, like that. And I'm like, back in the day, I'm like, do I go back in my shell because I'm doing things that's way superseding what everyone else is doing, or do I keep doing it? Because it used to really affect me and hurt me. Why can't I just be me? Can I just do the work that I feel like I'm here to do without any kind of judgment or scorn or backstabbing? And it used to hurt me so much. Now I kind of give the finger. It's like, I'm doing what I'm doing. You want to see what I'm doing compared to what you're doing, which is really nothing. Now it doesn't hurt me anymore. Now it's just water off a duck's back. So, you know, if you want to start shining, might come at a little bit of a price, but you'll get past that and you'll be like, actually, I don't really care. What I care about is the people that keep me lifted, people who actually love me. Everyone else can get stuffed.
To me, it's all about keeping your circle positive. you know, and people, you know, there's always that saying that people are in your life for a reason, a season, a lifetime, or a lesson to be learned. And I kind of live by that. And I accept the ebbs and flows of friendships and the ebbs and flows of life. Mm-hmm. And I really do believe that, you know, dancing to the beat, it took me 45 years to be okay with I am enough. and you know, I spent a lot of money on education, money on therapy, you know, you name it. But I actually came to the conclusion that nobody else's opinion of me actually matters. My opinion of me is the only thing that matters. I live with me, I wake up with me, I go to bed with me, you know. So at the end of the day, you know, how I behave, how I act, how I react, what I do in my life, it's only me that I'm accountable to. And if I can live with me, then that's great, you know. I'm proud of that.
You make it sound so simple. It kind of is, isn't it? You know, we're coming to the end of the show that went amazingly fast. So we'll leave off with a few final thoughts, but I just wanted to mention that if anyone was wondering, because each show I put the break in and it's one of my songs. So the song that you'll hear at the break is also one of my songs. And if you want to check out more of my music, you can go to Helena Phoenix .bandcamp. Yep, HelenaPhoenix.bandcamp.com. I'm pretty sure that'll take you there. HelenaPhoenix.bandcamp.com, and you can buy a song for like $1.99, you know. So there's that. What else did I need to mention? Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Julie. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. This time you'll definitely have an archive of the show, a YouTube version. There'll be an archive on Wolf Spirit Radio, and also, if you like, once I compress the show, it'll only be a small MP3 of about, 25 meg. So I'll scoop that through to you. So you'll have all these formats as a record of the show. You can do whatever you want with it. You can, I don't know, do you have a website as well, like your own personal website?
I will be having juliegibson.com, and then you can find out more about me as a person. But still, the youcanlivethelife.of-your-dreams.com website is up and running, and it has all my books and access to all my motivational stuff and free stuff that can help you get started if you're on your own journey and you want some help with that.
And what about seminars, workshops, that kind of thing? Do you do those things?
Absolutely. I mean, I do one-on-one workshops over Skype. I also do events. So we've got one coming up. If you're actually in Australia, any of the listeners, we've got one coming up on the 25th of October. And it's for women who are needing their time to shine, time out from their busy schedules to actually focus on themselves and what they truly want and desire. So that's at Brooklands Hotel in Mornington on the beautiful Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, Australia. And the details of that are on our Facebook page and also on www.youcanlivethelife of your dreams.
Okay, so that's just up the road from me. So if I was to come and have a sticky beak and maybe even do like a journalist report on the event, I mean, what are people to expect at this event?
People can expect to come away with knowing more about what drives them, what their passion and purpose is, and they'll come away with a vision board, the beginnings of a vision board to start their manifesting the life of their dreams.
And is that like a ticket sale event?
It is, and the tickets are available, as I say, through our Facebook page on TickBiz. So people can actually just go straight to our Facebook page, and there's a link there at the very top, and they can buy tickets there.
And how many people are you expecting at this event, or how many people does this event actually facilitate?
It's a small, intimate group. We like to work, my co-author partner, Britt Watson, and I like to work on small, intimate groups. So there will be no more than 15 people at the event, and I think we're over halfway there already.
And what about cost? How long does the cost and how long does the event go for?
The cost of the event actually includes the book, but there are various different costs. So if people just go to the Facebook page, they'll find the cost and the ticket that actually suits them individually, because it depends. We have a lot of people that have already bought our book, and we don't want to, recharge them for that. So there is a ticket price available for people who haven't got the book, and the book and the workshop is very much discounted. And also for our friends of our events and people who have attended stuff before, there's like a special friends price as well. So if you just go straight to TickBiz on our actual Facebook page, then all the details are there, Helena.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks again for joining us, Julie. It's been great.
It's always a pleasure to chat with you. It's so easy.
It is easy. That's what all my guests say about me. They love being interviewed by me because I just have this knack, and I don't mind saying it because I love the fact that I'm able to do that. I just like making my guests feel comfortable and keeping it reminiscent of whatever they want to kind of talk about, and having a back and forward conversation, really. So wonderful. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. I'm Helena Phoenix. You've been listening to Helena Phoenix and Julie Gibson. I'll be back next week with another show. Who knows, I might even have another guest. I've actually approached Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden for an interview. So let's see how that pans out. I'm putting it out to the universe. So Bruce Dickinson, if I could get him even on for half an hour, I'd love to know his views on current events in the world. So I've contacted him. I've contacted just people so way out of my league. It's even ridiculous that I'd even think about it, but I still do it. I still I shoot for the target a little bit higher than I probably should, but no, never. You just don't know. All right, well, wonderful, Julie. I will see you all next week. Thanks very much, Julie, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Helena. Bye.